Welcome back to BST, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode. So, two more series in the NBA and the NHL have ended. Got to cover those. And quickly at the end, I just wanted to cover the Brock Purdy contract. So let's jump right into this thing. In the NHL, the Carolina Hurricanes have beaten the Washington Capitals in 5 games. I had Washington going to the Eastern Conference Final, so this is disappointing for me. I can't say I'm shocked though, especially how Carolina played this series and how they're playing these playoffs so far. They were the better team. Let's go through the games. Game one, Carolina wins it 2-1 in overtime. I believe it was Jacob Slavin in overtime. Slid it past Logan Thompson, so that was pretty unfortunate for him. I thought the Capitals got pretty much owned in that game, and I will be using the deserve to win-o-meter again. And in this game, they had Carolina winning 75.4% of the time in 1,000 simulations of the shots, all that stuff. Deserve to win-o-meter is basically, I explained it last time I used it, but it's just like taking the scoring chances and they do a simulation. So if a team had that many scoring chances, how many times would they win in 1,000 simulations? So is it perfect? No, but it kind of gives us a chance or an idea, a perspective of who kind of dominated the play, who like how much they dominated, stuff like that. So 75.4% is one of the biggest deserve to win meters I've seen, especially since I've started looking at it. So game one goes to Carolina. But Washington answers 3-1 victory in game two. But again, Carolina with the 60.4% deserve to win. So even in a win, Washington is losing the deserve to win meter, which again, does it mean anything? I don't know. But it kind of just shows who had the best looks. Game three, Carolina answers 4-0 victory. 58.6 on the deserve to win meter. Game four, this is when I knew it was pretty much over. Carolina 5-2, but interesting enough, Washington 62.6% on the deserve to win meter. So I think that was the game where Washington. It might have been game four, game five, where Carolina scored 2 at the end really fast. I think it was game five that happened. Game five, Carolina 3-1. Carolina 54.8% deserve to win meter. So Washington only wins the deserve to win meter once. They only won one game, so it seems to check out pretty well there. And Carolina's just a train right now. I'd say their series MVP is Freddie Anderson. He had a 937 save percentage. But that's not to discount Logan Thompson. He had a 912, so the goalies were very good in this series. And the thing about Carolina is they had a lot of depth scoring. I think Jarvis was their leading scorer this series. He had 5 points in 5 games. But like Aho was just under a point per game, I believe, or a point per game. But nobody had like insane like Conn Smythe numbers necessarily besides Freddie Anderson. They've got a lot of depth scoring. Like I said, Jarvis with 5 points. Walker with 3, Martinook with 3. So those are good numbers for your depth scorers. And Washington just didn't have that. 1 point from Ovechkin, which was on a 5-on-3. So it's like that doesn't really count. I mean, that's that. If you're on the ice during there, you probably are going to get a point. So, and their leading scorer Dylan Strome 2 points this entire series. After having a really, really good series against Montreal, Carolina was just able to shut him down. So Carolina obviously moves on to face the winner of Toronto, Florida, which should be an insane Game 7 tomorrow night, I believe. I'm super excited for that one. It'd be so Toronto to lose it after winning Game 6, but we'll see what happens. They'll face the winner of that series will face Carolina. And for Washington, it's kind of a weird situation because you don't really know where to go from here. You got a lot of aging players: John Carlson, Ovechkin, Tom Wilson. Um, but you also got some young guys. You got Protas. You got Protas's brother coming up. McMichael's pretty young. Dubois is pretty young. Strome, probably around the 30 mark, so he's getting up there as well. So Chikrin, he's like 28, 29, something like that. He just signed a big deal. So I think the Capitals can contend going forward. Obviously, Ryan Leonard is coming up. Andrew Cristall is another prospect they have. Cole Hudson, Lane Hudson's brother, supposed to be same skill level as a defenseman, should be pretty interesting. Maybe can replace John Carlson's production of the past decade plus. So should be interesting to see where the Capitals can move from here. But I mean, this was kind of just a season that I think they had some good pieces and it went all right. It went like everything went perfectly, and they were able to dominate the East. Put up big point numbers, but I'm not necessary. I don't think it was what I don't think their regular season reflects who they were truly as a team. I still think they're a good team, and this series definitely could have gone differently. But I think Carolina would have won it regardless of if it was in 5, 6, or 7 if it got there. But yeah, I think this is a good season for Washington, and there's a lot of prospects coming that they can build with and move through. But going to be interesting to see how they move past Ovechkin because he was your leading scorer, or your leading goal scorer. So I think he'll probably play one more year and then go play in Russia. That has been his plan so far. So we'll see what happens there. Let's move on to the NBA. The New York Knicks are moving on to the conference finals. They beat Boston 4-2 in the series. Let's go through the games. Game 1. Boston holds a 20-point lead and gives it away and lose 108-105 in overtime. Game 2. Boston has a 20-point lead. They lose 91-90. Those two games are brutal. I think I went on here, did a quick hitters episode, and said Boston can win this in 6. And I truly thought that. I truly thought they would win it. They could win it in 6. And in Game 3, they dominated again, 115-93. So now in Game 3, you're thinking, all right, so Boston has dominated 3 games. Going into the fourth quarter, they had big leads in Game 1 and Game 2, and they just dominated in Game 3. So I'm like, all right, Boston's been the better team. They just can't close out games, and they've shot really bad from 3. But if you're winning, or if you're still holding these leads and you're shooting bad from 3, there's still a lot there. So, but then Game 4, just devastating for Boston fans. You lose 121-113. At one point, they held a 10-point lead, but you lose your best player. Jason Tatum ruptures his Achilles. I think it was in the fourth quarter, third or fourth quarter. Brutal. Because not only does it affect this series, you're eliminated now. You can't win a finals this year. It also affects next year because he'll probably be out a year, or at the very least, he'll miss the start of next season, which is brutal. And I know Boston was planning to kind of offload some of their depth pieces, like what's his name? Porzingis, probably a goner. Drew Holiday, probably a goner. So this was kind of your year to get another one, make it all worth it, and then kind of cut back a little bit. Because I don't really know exactly how the NBA salary cap works, but I know you can go over it, but you have to pay the luxury tax. I'm sure that's what they were doing right now. They're paying so many guys. So they're probably like, the owners are probably pretty sick of paying a luxury tax. So, but which sucks because I mean they've had such a good team now for a couple of years. This is probably their best on paper roster. So it sucks to lose Tatum next year because now you're probably not going to have a lot of your depth and you won't have Tatum for a good portion of the year. So that sucks for them. Game 5, they answer. And this is when it gets interesting because now you're like, man, could Boston really do this without Tatum? But it was all for naught. Game 6, the Knicks destroy them 119-81. So, man, it really felt like Boston could have won this series pretty quickly, especially with those big leads in game 1 and 2. They were the better team, no doubt. Go up 2-1 there, and then 2-0 there, and then 3-0 in game 3. I honestly, like, you win those 2 games. Obviously, you still lose Tatum, assuming that happens, but I'm just saying, like, they could have easily won this series. Like, this wasn't a Knicks fan should be happy they're moving on, but I'm not sure. I still think there's some concerns for the Knicks. But Brunson, 26.1 points per game during the series, continuing he's a great scorer. Bottom line, great scorer, very clutch. Bridges had those 2 defensive stops in game 1 and 2 when Boston had the final shot, and he was able to, I think he stole one and blocked the other. So unbelievable from Bridges. What you bring him in to do, the 3-and-D wing, really showing the defense there. And Towns continues to be one of the greatest rebounders in the league, 12.6 rebounds per game during this series. Rebounds are huge in the playoffs, especially offensive rebounds. But good on them. They got the pieces. They're looking to face the Pacers in the next round, which should get interesting. Pacers really weren't expected to be here, so I'm excited to see what the Pacers can do. I like their team a lot, and I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think they played last year, and the Pacers beat the Knicks, I think, to move on to play Boston in the conference finals. I believe so. So for the Knicks, New York is going to blow up if they make it to the NBA Finals. I haven't seen Stephen A. Smith's reaction yet, but I'm sure that's pretty funny. So, kind of a sad tone to this series. You would have loved to beat him with Tatum, but unfortunately, that did not happen because Tatum went down. Prayers to him. Hopefully a speedy recovery. Tatum gets really overhated, so it's probably a tough time for him, but I think they'll bounce back. Obviously, with Tatum, Brown, those guys, you'll still have a good team next year. But Knicks move on to face the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Final. All right, let's just touch quickly on the Brock Purdy contract. I have some interesting thoughts for you all. All right, it's a 5-year, $265 million contract that puts him 8th in the league among active quarterbacks. The AAV, average annual value, is $53 million a year. I don't know. He'll be a free agent in 2031. All right. I don't want to hate on him too hard, but obviously, as a Packers fan, Jordan Love got paid big time, similar to this contract, a little bit more actually last year. He didn't play up to it, I don't believe. But it's fine because it was one of those. I think this is probably going to be backloaded as well. You pay him little up front, and then you pay him a lot at the end, and then you can restructure and all that stuff later on. But so I don't know. It's the same contract as Jared Goff. So do you think Brock Purdy is as good as Jared Goff? I don't. Here's the thing with Purdy. If you're paying Jordan Love, you're paying at the very least for the toolkit. the strong arm, the pocket mobility. I mean, Brock Purdy's pretty mobile, but I guess my biggest my biggest pet peeve with this contract for Brock Purdy is that I don't believe he's got a great arm. I believe he is very talented at finding windows, and he's very good with timing and working within the Shanahan offense. But I don't think he can rifle a ball in there when things go badly. And this past year was pretty rough. The year against the when they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, he was really, really good that year. But honestly, I I think I struggle with this so much is because we've seen so many quarterbacks have these type of seasons in this offense. Sam Darnold last year with Kevin O'Connell. When you put a good offensive group around a quarterback who can just do the bare minimum and just be really good with timing and layer throws in there, which are all good skills. Um, I think we see kind of a quarterback inflation of sorts. But honestly, I think Brock Purdy should have gotten the Sam Darnold contract or the Daniel Jones contract. I think that would have been serviceable. I would have much rather seen that for the Niners than this because this is a big risk because Brock Purdy has had a half year that was pretty good and a full year that was really good. But we kind of saw that when things aren't as good on offense, not as perfect, he may struggle. So I don't like it. Obviously, in a few years, this contract will be drowned by other big ones. That's what I thought about the Jordan Love one last year. But like, I don't think there's a single. Maybe there are, but I don't. I don't think rationally there should be a single Niners fan who would take Brock Purdy at this contract over Jordan Love with his. And it's just because of the toolkit. That's at the end of the day. Like, and that's why quarterbacks who have a strong arm, maybe didn't play well in college, get drafted so high is because NFL coaches believe they can mold them. And as long as you have a strong arm, can move a little bit, throw from different angles, that's what's going to get you paid. But Brock Purdy kind of breaks the mold here. True pocket passer who can move though. I think that's pretty underrated part of his game. But I don't know. I just don't like it as much. Niners fans, let me know what you think of it in the comments. I'm not trying to hate because Brock Purdy beat the Packers in the playoffs and he made some big throws that game. But I honestly, it's just for like the health of your franchise. I'm not sure this was the right move. Like I don't think I think in a few years you'll be like, why did we sign this guy to this long, or for this much money? I just think it's an overpay. Bottom line, I think they probably should have tried to negotiate a smaller contract, probably around the 40, 45 mark. Even 45 might have been a little bit too much. Probably the 40 million AAV mark. I would have tried that. Maybe they did. But honestly, if he's not willing to accept that, you play the year with him this year and you just let him walk because I I think paying quarterbacks who kind of have a cap to their ceiling is foolish. We saw it with Daniel Jones. They paid him. But I think Brock Purdy is better than Daniel Jones, obviously. And I think Brock Purdy's ceiling is much higher than Daniel Jones. But I don't know. I think we've seen Brock Purdy's peak, and it wasn't enough to win the Super Bowl. So let me know down in the comments what you think about those series and the Brock Purdy contract. All your support is greatly appreciated. Check out TikTok and YouTube Shorts for our short form content. Please like, subscribe, comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.